Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Leipsic. I'm with Junior Achievement, and welcome to JA Manitoba's third World of Choices Career Expo presented by RBC. RBC is a national sponsor of JA's World of Choices events all across Canada, and we are most thankful for their support. As well, we want to thank CNA for their financial support of this and our previous Manitoba events. The goal of World of Choices is simple. We want to inspire you to learn all that you can about different career paths and gain insight, knowledge, and resources necessary to pursue your dreams after high school. We are very excited about our amazing speakers, and we know this is a great opportunity for all of you to learn about some fascinating careers. After each speaker presents, you'll be given the opportunity to ask a few questions in the chat box. At the end of the session, your teacher will have a digital survey, and we'd ask that you please fill those out. Lastly, we'd like to acknowledge we are on treaty territory and that we are all treaty people, and JA Manitoba acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Okay, let's begin. First off, we're going to watch a quick video from our sponsor, the RBC Foundation.
Now more than ever, the job market is changing, leaving Canadian youth feeling uncertain and unprepared for what lies ahead. They're motivated and embrace lifelong learning as the key to their success, but they still need support, which is why we've made a commitment to them and to Canada's future. We're bringing young people together with community leaders and partners across the private and public sectors to help them prepare for the future of work. That commitment began in 2017 with RBC Future Launch and the investment of $500 million over 10 years, developing innovative partnerships and proprietary programs, including RBC Upskill, the RBC Future Launch Scholarship, and RBC Future Launch Live Workshops to help young people get work experience, gain new skills, grow their network, and support their mental well-being. 4 years in, we're continuing to gain momentum with milestone achievements and millions of youth already engaged. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic means young people need our support more than ever. We've worked quickly, rallied our partners, and reimagined RBC Future Launch, making our programs and resources accessible virtually and reaching even more youth across the country. We brought together industry experts and young professionals for a virtual summit.
People are actually more open to having a Skype or a FaceTime or an online conversation because people are looking for that connectivity. You go to RBC Future Launch's website, you'll see a whole roster of deliberate networking programs.
We've committed to helping BIPOC youth find meaningful, transformative pathways to prosperity.
Black woman is the most vulnerable person out here. Black woman is the most unprotected person out here. It needs to be us as Kings united in solidarity and pushing forward and using our platforms and our voices together.
As of today, we've created a network of community partners, invested in programs and resources across the country, developed new resources with industry partners, and we've reached 2.5 million young Canadians, and we're just getting started. Future. I'm coming for you. See the future of Canada's youth today. Visit rbc.com/futurelaunch.
Okay, let's get started. Our first speaker is Rick DeBruyn. Rick's the Regional Vice President of CNA. Welcome, Rick.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Greg. As Greg mentioned, I'm the Regional Vice President for CNA for the Prairie Region, which is Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Northwestern Ontario. I'm really pleased to be joining you guys today because one of the reasons I'm just thrilled to participate is I really credit Junior Achievement with actually getting me my first job in insurance. So I went to the University of Winnipeg. I graduated with a political science degree, focused on urban studies and public policy. And graduating, it was the mid-90s. It was a really deep recession. It was really hard to find a good job. One of my hobbies was I like tinkering with old cars. I like playing with antique cars and kind of fixing them up and that sort of thing. And I thought I wanted to be a insurance adjuster with Manitoba Public Insurance to analyze the vehicle damage and that sort of thing. So I went to go see a local insurance broker to find out how to get involved in that type of industry, who I would get in touch with, what kind of training or education I would need in order to get into that field. And he gave me the names of some regional leaders at different insurance companies in the city. And I ended up getting an interview with a company called Wellington Insurance, which was going through a merger, and now they're known as Intact Insurance. You've probably seen their commercials on TV and stuff like that. And I went to the interview and I had no experience at all, but I had junior achievement on my resume. I had participated in a junior achievement program in high school, and they focused right in on that junior achievement part of my resume and asked me a bunch of questions about that. And I ended up getting the job, and I started in the mail room and the filing room. And from there, went into personal lines insurance and farm insurance, and eventually into commercial insurance. So that was really my start. And like I say, I like to credit it to junior achievement, 27 years ago. So I'll just start by saying, why is insurance important? I think, a lot of people, they don't necessarily know what the insurance industry does. And I think the thing to realize is it gets people back on their feet after an unexpected bad event, right? It could be wildfires, it could be floods, it could be house fires. Things might be stolen from you. You could get involved in accidents or lawsuits. And the insurance industry really protects people from all of these catastrophic events. And businesses can make investments knowing that their investments will be protected and they're not going to lose everything. So, that's I think really one of the noble things about the insurance industry and what we contribute to society. And I love the title of this program, World of Choices, because I really feel in the insurance industry, there are so many career paths that can lead you in insurance. One of the main ones is underwriting, which is really assessing and pricing the risk. That's a big part of it. But, we also need claims adjusters and examiners. So the people, when a claim comes in, they figure out what's covered, how much will be paid, and they work with the clients to ensure that the repairs get done. We also have risk control inspectors. So people who go out to work with clients to prevent losses before they happen. That's a very, very important role. And behind the scenes, there's just so many roles that, people, they don't know that happens. We need actuaries and finance people and, marketing and communications. We have legal people, lawyers who work for our company. We need a ton of people in information and technologies to keep all of the computers running, and human resource teams to manage all those people. And then on the side of it, there's the broker side as well. And so brokers need people who can sell the product direct to the public. So that's very important part of it as well. And there's a number of educational paths that can lead to a career in insurance. So a lot of people have a university degree. I mean, I have a political science degree, but we hire lots of people who have Bachelor of Commerce degrees. That's very common. A lot of people go to Red River College or similar community colleges, and they'll take business programs there. There is an insurance, property and casualty insurance program at Red River College. It's a full-time 5-month program, and it actually gets you about half of the courses that you need to complete your chartered insurance professional designation as you complete that program. And there's also a 4-week practicum to give you some experience in the industry as well. And I believe the intake date for that is in September. So that's a great place as well. We have some people who go to fire college. A lot of our risk inspectors, they come from fire colleges, and they don't necessarily go to become firefighters, but they take inspection programs instead. And then there's the Insurance Institute of Canada, which provides a chartered insurance professional and fellowship designations. And those are the most recognized designations in Canada for insurance professionals. And once you start with a company, they will pay to put you through those programs. And they'll pay you small bonuses when you're done and that sort of thing as you go along and complete the courses. So, and in our head office in Toronto, we have people who were previously doctors, lawyers, nurses, engineers, they all work in the insurance industry. Just in my team alone, I have people who come from a variety of backgrounds, military background. One person was a personal trainer. One person was an insurance broker. One person was a claims adjuster. And so people can come with a lot of different experiences to find a place to fit into the industry. So just, in final, passing here, I'll just say a few things that I think can really prepare you for a career in insurance as you're going through school. So we need people with research skills and a curiosity to learn about how businesses and work, and to look into details and do some investigating. So those are really important skills. Attention to detail is so important. We're working with legal contracts, and so attention to detail is so important. And even on that note, I'll just say, when you're preparing a resume, I see a lot of resumes and a lot of them come with spelling and grammatical errors. Attention to detail is really, really important for your resumes. So run that by a teacher or, a trusted person in your life, a parent, friends. Have people proofread your resume for you. Things like Toastmasters. To get those verbal and written communication skills and computer skills, right? Like, we need people who are good with programs like Excel is a very important program. So if you have the opportunity to take Excel courses, it's going to benefit you very, very greatly. So, there is this saying in insurance, a lot of people say, oh, you don't plan a career in insurance, you just sort of fall into it. I don't believe that at all. I believe it's a great career that you actually can plan for, and it needs a very wide variety of people. And you can start at the beginning of your career, or you can transfer in later in your career from other industries and take that experience that you have and join a great career in insurance. So I would really highly recommend it's something that you consider. There's a lot of different places that it can take you. And I know it's been a wonderful career for me, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk about it today.
That's great. Thanks so much, Rick. We have a few questions. Before we do, you were in junior achievement, and I want to mention that in my previous career, I was in insurance for many years. And my great-grandfather who started the business, or my grandfather, one of them had this saying about insurance that you can't taste, touch, or smell it, and you hope you never use it. So it's, as I'm sure students can imagine, it's a difficult sort of topic to wrap your head around, but I think you did a really great job doing that. So a couple quick questions are, how do I become an investigator of insurance claims?
Yes, that would be in the adjusting side of the field. So a lot of people don't necessarily start as an adjuster. They may gain their experience in underwriting first to really kind of understand how the policies work, and to really understand the wordings and what's covered and what's not covered, and then sort of make a transition into insurance adjusting. You could be an adjuster's assistant. That is also a place to get started. So if you want to get a foot in the door, you can start, as an assistant in adjusting firms. But adjusting can really be a whole separate career on its own. There's the brokers, there's the insurance companies, and there's also independent adjusters as a potential field to look into as well. So it is very interesting. You get to be on scene, right after things happen, and working there with the fire investigators to try and figure out what went wrong here and that sort of thing. And it is a very exciting career. So some adjusters will work directly for the insurance companies, and then, as I mentioned, also some will work independently for independent adjusting firms as well. So you can kind of get your start sort of in either of those places. But I think if you start with an insurance company, you'll have a broader range of paths that can take you towards that field, and then you can sort of cross-train and move over.
Okay, you got to show some bias here. What's the coolest insurance sector to work in?
The coolest insurance sector? Oh, that is real. I really favor commercial insurance, and the reason that I say that is you get to look into so many interesting types of businesses and find out how they work. Like, you really do have to research and understand the risk that you're insuring. So you really have to kind of investigate, Google search, understand how a lot of businesses work, right? Whether it's construction or manufacturing or retail, you really have to wrap your head around the operations of your client. And so that's why I find commercial so particularly interesting. It's not the same thing over and over. It's not, analyzing this house is different from this house and that sort of thing. So I favor commercial insurance.
Okay, so you sort of explained how that works. Another question is, what does a typical day look like for an insurance job? But as we know, and as you've explained, there's a whole bunch of different ones. So perhaps somebody who looks after home insurance and working with the brokers, maybe you can explain a little bit, what does their typical day look like?
Yeah, so really we provide the services direct to brokers. Like, we don't particularly speak direct to clients. There are some insurance companies that do deal direct with clients. So over the course of our day, a lot of our interaction is with insurance brokers, like the background that you came from, Greg. So we would receive applications from brokers, and we would analyze them, determine whether they fit our requirements, or we need to go back and get more information, that sort of thing. We process changes to policies. There's always a lot of changes to policies that come in that need to be processed. We always do a lot of training stuff. There's always a lot of internal training. Every week that we have a number of courses going on for our staff to constantly build their training. And also getting out of the office and visiting brokers and clients as well, right? I think that's also very important. I always encourage my people to go out with the insurance broker, meet the client, and really understand what happens between the four walls of your risk, right? And I think a lot of people, they don't have that experience of, maybe they've never worked on a construction site, or they've never worked in a manufacturing plant. And so they're able to go out with the risk control inspector and the broker to really see what happens in those places. I think that's also a very exciting opportunity, and one of the things that I encourage my team to do.
Awesome. Okay, I got to wrap it up and move on to the next person. Thanks so much for doing that. That was really terrific. And of course, thanks again to CNA for all the support on putting on these events. Thanks so much, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Jonathan Royal. He's the Co-op Education Coordinator, Professional Baking, Culinary Arts at Red River. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks, Rick. Hi, guys. So my name is John Royal, and I'm the co-op coordinator for the professional baking and the culinary arts programs at Red River College. So I'm a chef by trade. So that's the trade that I'm going to be talking about is cooking and becoming a chef. So a little bit about my background. After high school, I enrolled in South Winnipeg Technical Center, which is now, I believe it's MITT. And I took a 2-year diploma course in computer networking and microcomputer technician. And I moved out to Waterloo to join Research in Motion on working with their Blackberries. And that was maybe a little bit the first smartphone, basically. And they had a massive restructuring only 6 weeks after I started, and I was scrambling for a job. I ended up working in a bar, and I started as a dishwasher just to make rent. And I was the assistant kitchen manager after about 6 months, and it was something that I just had fell in love with. I found a passion for cooking, and it really clicked for me. So I returned back to Winnipeg, and I started my apprenticeship with the casinos of Winnipeg. So there's a few different ways to move through an educational aspect of culinary arts to become a chef, and the apprenticeship is one of them. You can work with an employer, and they can sign you as an apprentice. There's an academic portion of the apprenticeship where you do most of your learning at work. So you're getting paid to learn the trade. And after you've gained about 1 year of hours, you go to school for a certain amount of time. For me, it was about 3 months for level 1. You go back to work for 1 year, and then you come back to school for another 3 months term. The certification in the trade of cook is called your Red Seal. So it's the same as many other trades like electrician and plumber and pipe fitters and etc. carpentry. And so that is the one way that you gain your Red Seal certification, is by becoming an apprentice. There is, at Red River College, we have an awesome 2-year culinary arts diploma program, and it has 2 work terms. Rick was talking about co-op work terms in the insurance industry. We also have them in the culinary arts industry. So you come to school for 1 year, and then you go out on a paid work term to learn on the job. So it's work integrated learning is a very big part of our program here at Red River College, where you go, again, you go out to work and practice the theory and the things that you've learned in the labs over the first year in culinary arts in an actual job setting where you're practicing, and you're coming back with some great skills and experiences that you can then incorporate into your second year learning. After the second year, you have another work integrated co-op where you go back out into work term and you practice all the new things that you learn while you're on co-op. My journey as a chef, I've been a chef in the kitchen for about 25 years. And I've just recently, in the past 2 years, transitioned into my role of co-op coordinator. And so I work with the students when they go out on their co-op. I help them with their resumes and their cover letters. I make sure that I have great placements in restaurants and hotels and golf courses and country clubs and resorts across Canada for them to learn from chefs and mentors in the industry. Some of the things that you might want to think about if you're interested in cooking is not all restaurants are like working with Gordon Ramsay or Guy Fieri. It's not always what it looks like on TV, that's for sure. You know, creativity, hard work, leadership, great communication skills, be able to work in a fast-paced environment under pressure, are all very, very important things that you need to have and work on and hone while you're working in the industry in kitchens. But there's also so many more things that the culinary industry has. And it's not just working in a restaurant. Like there's people need food all over the place. Like Canada Life Center, seniors' homes, hospitals, post-secondary education companies. If you have that entrepreneurial spirit, if in junior achievement, right, there's so many ways to open your own restaurant or food truck or catering company concept with when you couple that with experience and education in culinary arts. There's no limits. There's also a really burgeoning part of research in culinary. So culinary research has really come a long way. So there's lots of different positions available in researching food and working with scientists and food scientists and to create recipes for larger companies and to help smaller companies ramp up their recipes or change them to incorporate, bean flour or pea flour or different alternative proteins. So there's lots of different aspects to the culinary arts industry that are available to students and people who are really driven to become the next generation of great chefs in our city and across Canada. So for myself, my personal journey, I've traveled through the country. I've worked in Waterloo, in Banff, and in Jasper, and most of my career has been in Winnipeg, through the Fairmont Winnipeg, through some fine dining French restaurants, working with Diversity Food Services at University of Winnipeg, as well as a long time at Red River College managing their food services. So that is all that experience has given me the experience to be able to make sure that our students at the college, at Red River College, Polytechnic, have the ability to have great connections and great work integrated learning experiences while they're on their co-op placements in the industry. Thanks. I'm able to answer some questions if.
Yeah, for sure. We got a bunch of questions.
Thanks,
Jonathan.
Greg.
Yeah. First couple of questions are: what can I do in high school if I want to be a chef?
Well, there's the best thing to do in high school if you want to be a chef. If you have a high school program that has a culinary arts program to it, there's lots of high schools out there that have some culinary art aspects to that. You can go into your you can join those aspects. if there's any sort of home economics classes, you can choose those, because any exposure to food and cooking is really important. But the best thing to do is to really get a part-time job in a kitchen in your area. If there's any positions that are available for, if you're old enough, 15, 16, learning to get into the kitchen and washing dishes and becoming a kitchen helper will really expose you to what a kitchen is really all about. And it'll help you decide, is this for me, right?
Yep. Is there a culinary program that is full-time instead of apprenticeship available?
Yes. At Red River College Polytechnic, we have a full-time 2-year program. And it's, as I said, it's a 10 months in academic and lab classes. So you have hands-on learning within our labs, like through a garde-manger kitchen, which is cold food, basic food prep, which teaches you soups and sauces, and different cooking methods, pastry 1, and a short order kitchen lab where you actually work and cook in a real kitchen under the supervision of a chef instructor. Okay. And once you pass all those courses, you go out onto your first co-op. So yeah, there's a full 2-year program at Red River College Polytechnic.
Okay, and related to that, what does it cost?
The costs are, I don't have the firm costs in front of me right now, but for a domestic student, it's in and around the $9,000 to $10,000 a year mark.
Okay, what are the hours like being a cook? Can you have a work-life balance?
That's a great question. That has come a long way in the last bunch of years. Yes, you can have a work-life balance, but you need to remember that if you're going into fine dining restaurant and you want to really work in those high-end restaurants, that is evening and weekend work. And that is something that you need to be very well prepared for, right? And I myself have done that for multiple years. But there are a lot of positions available out there in our career that do have, Monday to Friday jobs, and you are able to work in a work-life balance, working evenings and weekends if you're able to have your regular daytime available for family activities and things like that. But for myself, I work Monday to Fridays, and working in places like there's a lot of positions like flying fishing resorts where you work for the whole summer and you have the whole winter off, right? So there's a lot of flexibility in a lot of positions at old folks homes, seniors complexes. They have a lot of times where you're working Monday to Friday, or you only work one weekend a month. So there are some definite ways to get a work-life balance in this career.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to finish up with a couple of really important questions. What's something that you like to cook? And then I'll ask that question they always ask chefs. What's the one thing that's always in your refrigerator?
The one thing that's always in my refrigerator is probably about 30 different kinds of hot sauce. Sriracha for sure. And one of the things that I like to cook, I get this from my kids all the time. You know what? I like great pizzas and burgers, and I feel like that's a little bit of blasphemy from my profession, but I mean, if it's good, it's good. There's pastas and all sorts of different great fish and proteins that are all awesome, but like 9 times out of 10, if I'm at a restaurant, I'm ordering a burger. So I have to say it. I'll be honest.
Nothing beats a great burger. Okay, well, that's awesome, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. That was really terrific, and I think the kids picked up a lot of great stuff. And thanks so much for your time.
No problem. Thanks so much, Greg. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Our next speaker is Janet Harder. Janet is the Director of Event Management at Canad Hotels. Welcome, Janet.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you. I actually have the advantage of having 2 titles. So Director of Events for Canad Inns, and I'm also the General Manager of the Metropolitan Entertainment Center downtown, which kind of encompasses my entire career. We're kind of going back to the beginning. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. It's these moments in time, after years of putting in the hard work, that, you know, we love the opportunity to kind of talk about what we did and how we got here, because everybody in this room, and I can certainly even relate to Jonathan, worked very hard to get to where they are today. So I didn't choose the career that I was in. I didn't even realize I liked what I was doing until late into my career. But as I try to connect the dots back to what got me started, I realized way back in high school, and we won't talk about the year because it's irrelevant, I had the opportunity and someone presented me with the, hey, can you be the one that is our social convener? Convener is not a title that's used now in high school, but that basically I was the person that got to plan the school dances and the graduation parties and etc. So quickly realizing that that was something that I had a high level of interest in. From there, the passion soon developed, and it's generally the service industry, and which is completely diverse, but where I've been able to kind of focus my time is definitely in hospitality services, and now where I am today in events and entertainment. I quickly realized the idea of creating a team of people who were brought together with different roles and responsibilities to create a common goal was a passion. The industry that I like to do that in was certainly in restaurants and service, and later on in event and entertainment, but carrying the skills that I began way back as a teenager, even into my first careers. I started first after high school, I went into business administration because I always knew that you need to know your math and you need to have your business acumen to make any event or any entertainment experience successful. Because although we love all the cool parts of event and entertainment, we need to be profitable for our clients and even for the venues that we're running. And so quickly that took me, my very first job where I had management responsibility was way up north in Thompson, Manitoba, when I had the opportunity to apply for restaurant management with a Pizza Hut. So my service career began with Pizza Hut. Within a few months there, I had the opportunity to become the general manager of the venue and the restaurant, and then moved down into Winnipeg, where I could then start managing a number of Pizza Hut restaurants. So from being a general manager to managing a few different types of operations, I was quickly able to realize I love the large scope. I love the service industry, and my business education from Red River was very beneficial in allowing me to not only look at opportunities, but to give them a try, going all the way back to the passion of wanting to serve a team of people and execute great service or events. I spent many years developing the business side of what I do, and starting in restaurant management, then on to multi-unit management. From there, I was able to transition into banquet management. And from there, I, like Jonathan, spent some times at the casino. And that's really where the opportunity for me to work in the entertainment world was introduced. And that's because I came to that organization with some business skill sets, some hospitality skill sets, running large groups of people, and then able to take all of those skill sets and transition them into an opportunity where I got to be a project manager for an event center, and then start working with one of the best entertainment buyers in the city and start working on developing entertainment. I, as an individual, quickly realized I'd rather plan a party than attend a party. And so if that is something that you are, you know, you can always participate in those worlds and not necessarily have to attend. And that's just the place I had preferred to be. The idea of managing full produced live events was my next area to not only work in, and I had the ability to do so, but to really hone my skills both financially as well as providing quality entertainment for our guests that are coming through. And so all of the skill sets that I learned way back from high school, all through hospitality, restaurant management, hospitality management, and then therefore entertainment, bring me to right where I am today. I have the ability at this time to work many different types of events and activities that happen in my day. So if I were going to say, what is a typical day like? The day is never typical in this industry. We could be working on an event that's coming up that might have live entertainment in it. I work in a place currently where we hold beautiful weddings, fashion shows, club events, trade shows. And so no one day is the same. And I would concur with Jonathan again that this is not an industry. If you're looking for kind of that Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 routine. Respectfully, there's lots of opportunity within this industry to work those types of hours, but in entertainment and events, like culinary, you do need to remain flexible for nights and weekends. All those times that people are celebrating typical holidays or events are the days that we would work. And so that takes a little bit to get used to. However, if I was going to encourage anybody to enter in the industry and you were looking for routine, then I would focus on the sales and administration side of earning the events and booking the events versus the operation side of running the events. You can find balance and you can find that quality of life that you're looking for. And it is a very diverse sector. It's just where you want to end up working. And I know one of the most exciting parts I have right now, the piece I love the most is production. So even if service and hospitality is not an area that's going to interest you long-term, keep in mind that you can be backstage. You can learn audio-visual technician education. You can learn video and movie making education, excuse me. There's all types of skill sets back there. We bring in lighting operators and sound operators. And so there's many different career aspects that would go into events and entertainment planning. And so understanding the best place for you to start is definitely picking up those part-time jobs that are in the industry itself and really spending time understanding how it impacts you and how you can participate with what area you would want to kind of develop your skills in. But it allows the diversity and it allows you to work in many different areas. And then you can certainly focus in on the area that suits you best. So once I went through restaurant management and multi-restaurant management and event centers, I then realized I wanted to have some certification, what makes me an event planner that can plan large scale events. And so I spent some time with the Manitoba Tourism and Education Council, and I took the event management certification course. About 6-7 years ago was when I actually got that, and I continue to develop my own skills even now. That took me 3,000 hours of confirmed event planning and some curriculum activities, and then I wrote a provincial exam. And what that allowed me to do was pick up self-development. The general public, I am certified and I am qualified to plan your events and entertainment for you. And I have education that says so. So it's been a very satisfying career. Again, not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but ending up in this role. I've been finding even there's still further diversity, and where I want to go further is in large scale movie and TV production. So even now I'm entering in an area of self-development to take myself to the next level of entertainment and events. And so it's been a very satisfying career. I'll also note that hospitality is one of those careers that also can be very lucrative in comparison to other salary ranges that are out there. And so I would encourage you to research that if that's part of your motivation. But the last thing I leave you with, if you have the gift of creativity, which I don't, I can't sing, I can't dance, but I can plan. If you have, the planning skill sets that you need, as well as being creative, you can create even better experiences for people, and your participation and your own mark gets put more on event than anything. I'll support the clients as best I can, but if you come to the table with a bit more creativity, you'll excel even further, because then you'll be you can plan events that are international and, across the USA, if you can connect to the different markets. So very successful career. It can be extremely rewarding, very taxing, but again, the success always makes the difference. And so this has been a very great career for me.
Kate, we just have time for a couple questions, Janet. Have you ever met anybody famous, and have you worked on a really cool event?
Okay. Yes, I've met a lot of people that are famous. And so I've met some people going way back that guests in the room might not know, but I had the opportunity to meet some movie stars from the 70s, but since I've been in Canada, I'm originally from the US, I've got to meet Kanye West. Not that I put on his event, but because I'm associated with the industry, I get invited to other events. So that's another cool about the job. Paul Williams from Phantom of the Paradise. I've met Cash, the DJs out of New York. I've met Howie Mandel. I've met John O'Hurley, who is Elaine's boss on Seinfeld. And so there's many that I've met on local levels, and more I get to meet some of the A-list stars for sure.
Okay, what post-secondary would you recommend to get into your industry?
I would recommend the hospitality program with the Red River Community College, or I would certainly recommend even business administration, because business administration will take you through almost any career.
Perfect. That's awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. That was really terrific, Janet. Thanks again. Our next speaker is Grainne. She is the General Counsel and Privacy Officer of Payworks. Welcome, Grainne.
Thanks, Greg. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you bet. Fire away.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I just feel really privileged to be able to talk to everyone. And so I'll just give a really quick kind of overview of my journey, and feel free to ask me any questions you have, and yeah, anything you want to know about being a lawyer. So in high school, I guess, what were my dreams? I don't know if I really had a specific dream, but I can tell you I knew my interests and my strengths, and they were very much more on the humanities side, as opposed to some of the more math or physics/chemistry courses. But back then, when I went to high school, it was a curriculum that really wasn't as advanced as many of these students on the call are lucky enough to have. We didn't really have a whole lot of really advanced electives. So, you know, it was really math, sciences, or arts were some of the primary stuff we would look at for post-secondary. But outside of school, I knew I loved to travel, I loved to read, and I was very interested in current events, politics, etc. So I decided that I might like a career maybe in politics or journalism, maybe law, or maybe education. But I really wasn't sure, you know, grade 12, what I wanted to do. So I decided that I would go away to university. I grew up in northern Manitoba, actually in Thompson, Janet. So I had to leave anyway. So I decided that, you know, I would go to University of Ottawa, and I had a very supportive family. So it was great. So I did my undergrad at Ottawa U, which was actually a Francophone university, which was something different for me because I only had basic high school French. So I actually had to learn a lot of my courses in French, but it was a great experience. Ottawa is a great city where there's lots of activity. Of course, it's the nation's capital. So lots of things going on with politics, journalism. They also have a law school. And yeah, I took a lot of great courses in Ottawa. I ended up getting a major in political science, a minor in history, and almost had another double minor in English because I really liked English courses as well. And from there, I can just say that I took a lot of courses during my time in undergrad that I enjoyed, and it was really important to me to take you know, classes where I wanted to be there and could see, even though if I didn't know quite yet what I was going to do with those courses, I could at least see myself working in the field involving those courses. Also during that time, I worked several part-time jobs, which was really good. It really taught me, and I did throughout high school too, really taught me important life skills and perspectives on time management, teamwork, priorities, and just overall like work-life balance. So it was a really good experience for me to work while going to school. So I was kind of at a crossroads when I graduated. Part of me thought that maybe I'd take a gap year and I would travel. And of course, my dad said, well, Grainne, if you travel, that'll be it. We'll never see you again. You'll love it wherever you go. So you should probably just come back to Manitoba. So I ended up writing the LSAT because law was always definitely one of my interests, and did well and applied to law school at University of Manitoba and was accepted. So that brought me back home to Manitoba, and I ended up loving law school. It was just a great environment. It satisfied all my interests when it came to politics. Journalism has a lot to do about writing and reporting, you know, a lot of writing and reporting in law school, just everything, education, and just my sense of wanting to advocate. I really, really enjoyed law school. I was better at some courses than others, I will admit. Tax was not a course that I excelled at, but I did excel at things like contract law and tort law, which is, you know, laws regarding personal injury or property laws, and loved advocacy courses, any kind of, not quite litigation necessarily, but just advocating on behalf of a cause. So also in law school, important to know, I worked part-time, which I felt really kept me grounded and really just, and nothing to do with law. My part-time jobs were really never in the career that I ended up being. They were always, I worked in a nursing home. I worked at a Fairweathers, like just, in restaurants and bars, but it just kept me grounded and working towards my goals. I was also very active in committees and groups in law school. In terms of my career, so I graduated about 25 years ago. And I articled back then at a large law firm here in Winnipeg. And articling, for those that don't know, it's really like an apprentice situation that you've heard some of our other presenters talk about. You're working and you get paid while you're also studying for your, doing your bar examination courses to be called to the bar as a lawyer. So I articled for a year, was called to the bar in 1998. And then I started working in private practice at that same firm that I articled for. And it was great. My experience was great in the sense that it was hard work, articling, and the first couple of years after are very intense because you're learning the law and you're learning all these skills. And there's a lot of, it's just a big learning curve. But it was good because at the time when I did it, we really rotated through everything. So I did family law, I did litigation, I did labor law, I did corporate commercial law, which is really business law. And then I did, all kinds of variations of corporate commercial law, and I did real estate. So it was great that I had the experience because it allowed me to decide which area of law I really liked. And I found myself more drawn to corporate commercial and commercial real estate law. I really like transactions, like just different events, transactions, helping, assisting, getting them done, and then moving on to the next one. But at the same time, I really, really was interested in things, the emerging fields of privacy law and technology law. And I say emerging because back then, if I look back when I started articling, email was really not that long in mainstream use. The internet, even if you can believe, I'm sure many of you students are rolling your eyes, but back in the 90s, this is stuff that it really wasn't as common and pervasive as it is now. So email, internet, mobile phones, software as a service, this is all new things that were coming out when I was going through law school and starting my career. So that led to all kinds of technology law, things like Y2K, privacy law. These are all just such big events that happened when I was in my younger years as a lawyer that were really exciting. Then as part of my duties, or as part of my work at this law firm, one of our clients was a big telecommunication client, Manitoba Telecom, or MTS, now known as Bell MTS. So they seconded me, which means I was on loan to them. They paid me. It's like a work placement to help them out while one of their lawyers was on leave. Well, no surprise, I loved it because I love technology law and I liked privacy law. And I ended up staying. And it was such a great decision for me because I ended up having the opportunity to expand my legal knowledge just beyond the corporate commercial work I was doing, but also to get into privacy, technology, and really develop my business knowledge too, which is something that You know, one thing I didn't really take any courses in, either through high school or university, were business courses. So it was a real opportunity to get real life business experience while practicing law, which was just phenomenal. I worked really hard during those years, those early years at MTS, and eventually, you know, I just expanded my role as a corporate lawyer and business advisor beyond just pure legal matters. I eventually became Director of Regulatory Affairs and their privacy officer, which exposed me to all kinds of telecommunication and broadcasting matters and privacy things. I ended up traveling quite a bit back and forth to Ottawa to appear before the CRTC on huge, big like wireless hearings, broadband hearings, broadcasting hearings. So that was super exciting, a lot of hard work, a little scary and daunting at times, but I just loved it. In the moment when I was doing it and just having that opportunity to learn these neat things, it was phenomenal. No day was the same. Eventually, when the merger happened, when Bell bought MTS, I ended up leaving, and I ended up going to Manitoba Hydro to gain a broader sense of regulatory exposure. So I ended up working for several years in some really neat transmission situations, like for transmission work for hydro lines, and did a lot of neat work with the government and people at Manitoba Hydro, and I just really broadened my legal scope. But deep down, I was really missing private enterprise, and by private enterprise, I mean business law. That it's truly, in all the years and all the experience I was fortunate enough to have, I realized I actually just love advising a business and working with a business and working at a business and doing their legal work and being strategic advisor. So Payworks, there was an opportunity at Payworks, and I've been here now for about 3 years. I'm general counsel and privacy officer. I love it. Of course, no surprise, it ended up that I had to learn yet another industry, the financial industry, but it's the love of learning is something that I've kept with me my whole life and has served me well, because it just, you know what, it enabled me to be able to quickly learn this whole new career. And yeah, I've just been very lucky in my life to have pretty much 5 or 6 legal careers within one, 25-year period. So it's been great. If I could give you 5 pieces of quick advice for all you students, deciding what you want to be for the rest of your life is not an easy task. It's, and I know a lot of you, I have 3 teenagers, one's almost 20, one's 17. So I know the thought process that goes into it. I know the pressure. I understand, you want to maybe get it right at the first time, but, let me give you a couple pieces of advice to help you on your journey. First, know your strengths and passions. No matter what, if you know what you're good at and you know what you love, that'll always serve you well in starting your journey. And it doesn't have to be where you end your journey, but it'll serve you well in starting. Second, be optimistic, always. Don't be afraid of not doing well or failing. Each mistake teaches you something new about yourself. And there's a quote out there that I like. It says, "There is no failure, remember, except in no longer trying." So never stop trying. You know what, you'll be surprised what you learn and what you carry with you from those mistakes. Sometimes they're more important than the successes. Develop and embrace work ethic. This is an important one. Doesn't matter what career you choose. Doesn't matter which path you take to go through that career, whether it's vocational school, community college, university, work experience. There's one common element which will help you succeed, and that's work ethic. It is really important. Stay curious. That's the next one. Be open to learning and always be open to bettering yourself. You're worth it. And you'll find it's so much easier to pick up new skills if you never stop being open to learning. And last but not least, just stay well-rounded. Work if you can while going to school. Volunteer, play a sport, have hobbies, have interests outside of school and work. It's important for overall well-being, and it'll also help you determine and streamline what you really want to do as you go through your career journey. And I want to just echo my co-panelists had some great comments. I laugh, Rick, I deal with insurance all the time, as a lawyer, and it's a great industry. And I'm, in fact, one of my continuing education pieces is I'm very close to getting my enterprise risk management degree. Jonathan as a chef. I mean, you know, it's fantastic. And all of his points about creativity, hard work, communication skills, fast paced, it's awesome. Yeah, everything's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're kind of running past time, so there are some questions, and I'll get you to maybe type those answers in, and so they'll be part of the recording. But I got to move on to
certainly. Sorry.
Presenter. No, that's okay. That was fantastic. That was I think that was phenomenal. I think you gave everybody a great explanation of the different areas that you've been in. So I'll have you just punch in those answers, and I'm going to move on. Yeah. But thank you again so much, Grainne. That was great. Our next speaker is Paul Samyn. He's the editor of the Winnipeg Free Press, which we all know of. Welcome, Paul.
Are we all good? And is video working? Start my video.
There you go. We hear you. We see you. Fire away.
Okay. Thank you. And my apologies. Speaking to you from the office here at the Winnipeg Free Press. But I'm going to take you back to my days in high school. I'm at Silver Heights Collegiate in St. James. School doesn't exist anymore. And there's a presentation from Junior Achievement. And that conversation comes at a time when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Okay. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the path that took me to the Free Press, and then a little bit what that job is like, and then what the opportunities might be for those who want to follow in my footsteps. So I was good at writing. I was, I think, a little creative, but that didn't necessarily mean that I had any idea what I wanted to do. And I want to assure you, it's okay. All right. It's a big world. You're going to be taking your first few steps. You don't necessarily need to have your future mapped out right now. In fact, I might almost be a little worried if you do have it all mapped out, because the question would be is how can you know everything when you're only 16, 17, or 8 years of age? So what I did after graduating from grade 12 is I headed to the University of Winnipeg, and I took courses that I thought I would be good at because they were kind of aligned with my interests. And that first year is a really hard year, and don't be surprised if you struggle a little bit, because everyone does. And I've got 3 kids in university, so I know the experience from the parental side standpoint. But things got better, and I really did like university. I ended up graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in History. But somewhere through my 3rd year, it became clear that no matter what I did, I was going to graduate. So what's the next move? And I still didn't know. Okay, so 3 years in, I kind of know what I'm good at, or I've gotten a little better at what I thought I was good at, but what's that next step going to be? And I became aware of the creative communications program at Red River. And I'm not saying that I had locked on to journalism, but it was kind of in the front of my mind. Applied to that program. It's 2 years. They expose you to a lot of different things, all related to, as the name of the program suggests, creative communication. So it's writing, you get exposed to public relations, advertising, and journalism. Then I got really lucky because I got an internship at the Winnipeg Free Press. And that internship led to a job in 1988, and I never left. Okay. So the good news is I've had a pretty rewarding career. The downside is my resume is really narrow. Okay. So basically, I delivered the Free Press as a kid. I was a camp counselor when I went to university, and I've been at the Free Press since. So I do worry that if I lose this gig, you're either going to see me working as a Walmart greeter, or taking up any of the number of great career advice that we've already heard on this podcast. So working at the Free Press has been an amazing experience that has allowed me to do a lot of really cool things and get paid for it. And so that's why I want to talk about journalism and the kind of doors it opens and what it means for someone who has the ability to communicate. And it doesn't just have to be news. I was always in news. That was my focus. But if you're interested in the arts, if you're interested in sports, if you're interested in business, if you're interested in a whole wide range of things, you can earn a living and get to do a bunch of things that lots of other people can only dream of. When I have school groups coming through our newsroom, and they tend to usually be, say, grade 5, 6, I talk about the importance of reading. I talk about the importance of writing. And I say, you know, if you do good at that, you can land a job where you'll get paid, as we do, to go watch the Jets. And not just watch the Jets here in Winnipeg, to be on the road with them, or to go to the Olympics, or to go and take in plays, and you can watch, we have reviewers of Manitoba Theatre Centre. We've been to Los Angeles to watch movie screenings. There's a wide range of things that a newspaper like the Winnipeg Free Press does. In my personal experience, in the nearly 34, it's gonna be 34 years, I've got to do a number of things. I worked at the Manitoba legislature as a political reporter. For 10 years, I was at Ottawa. I was in Ottawa as our parliamentary bureau chief. That meant I got to interview prime ministers, travel the country from coast to coast. I covered wars. I was in the, during the Yugoslav war, I was in Croatia with Canadian peacekeepers. I went to Kosovo in 1999 during that air war. On 9/11, when the Twin Towers fell, I went to New York. I covered Princess Diana's funeral. That was a big deal in 1997. I'm sure none of you were born at the time, but ask your parents. And so, again, a number of opportunities to do some really cool things. My current role is an editor, or the editor, I should say. And so I'm ultimately responsible for every single thing that the Winnipeg Free Press produces, every story, every word, every photo, every spelling error, okay? That's my job. I have a team of people who work under me, and to try and lead this organization that's celebrating its 150th year. I'm not sure how many of you have a lot of familiarity with newspapers. I recognize that newspapers today aren't necessarily what they were when I was in high school. But I do believe that a lot of you care about a lot of issues. You're concerned about climate change. You're concerned and worried about racism. You may be watching events in Ukraine or south of the border. And so the question I would ask to you is, if you are concerned about those things, what do you want to do about it? And the press continues to have a really important role in informing society and making sure people are aware of what's happening. And when people are aware of what's happening, change can happen. And the argument that a newspaper like the Winnipeg Free Press makes is we see ourselves as critical to making sure that there is a trusted source of information that all Manitobans can turn to. And we've seen this during the pandemic. We've seen a huge rise in our readership, because when things are really about life and death, if people are trying to figure out, is there going to be a space for my grandmother if she gets sick at the hospital? Are our schools going to close? When is the University of Manitoba going to allow us back in as students? Those kind of things matter, and people were turning to us. And I think it's an honor and it's a privilege and it's a huge responsibility to make sure that Manitobans have the information that they need on a daily basis. I have had any number of wonderful experiences at the Free Press, and I'm not the only one. I have a team of reporters. I have a number of young reporters who've got to do a lot of really cool things. And so the takeaways for you as you're watching is, one, don't worry if you don't know. Go and pursue stuff that you think you're good at. And then as the advice from others is, you know, you work hard, and if you keep at it and you chase your dreams, you're going to land in a place that's going to allow you to have a rewarding career. And as the saying goes, if you really, if you love your job, it's never really going to seem like work. And I say that this job, even though it does have long hours and a lot of demands, I don't know what else I would do. And I love every minute of it, even 34 years into it.
Awesome. Couple quick questions for you, Paul. I want to be an investigative journalist. What should I do in high school or university to pursue that?
That's a great goal. I think you need to recognize that there's a number of building blocks to get to that point. And so if you have curiosity, that's a good thing. If you are persistent because you have to dig, and I would say work on your writing, read a lot, read what investigative journalists do. See what we have an investigative story on our front page today. Look at what the New York Times and others are doing so you become a little more familiar with what that means. And then you need to start. You need to start in some sort of program that gives you experience, and you can build up to that point.
What's the hardest thing you've had to report on?
Hardest thing I've had to report on. I think being in a war zone and seeing what it does to families, and trying to appreciate what their lives are going to be like, because I get to go home and their country is not going to be the way it was. And I obviously think about that in relation to what's happening in Ukraine these days.
Obviously, technology has affected your industry in a huge way. What do you see for the future of news? Do you see a future where there won't be a physical paper one day and it'll all just be on tablet and phones and such?
I think our industry has gone through significant changes, and we will continue to go through significant changes. The internet has a remarkable ability to disrupt businesses far and wide. There's probably no business that has not had to face challenges. I'd like to think that what the technology we have now means we can do more. When I started the paper, we were very excited about having color photos. The fact that we would have something that could include video, that you would be able to embed charts, that readers would be able to read the Free Press, whether they were at home in St. James or on a beach in St. Kitts, would have blown our minds. So that allows us to do more. That allows us to do better. And if we do things right, it allows us to secure a future beyond the 150 years that we've already enjoyed.
That's terrific. We got to move on. Thanks so much for that. I really appreciate your time. I think the kids really enjoyed that, Paul. Thank you again. Our next speaker is Ricel Gelera. She's the sales coordinator, hospitality and tourism at Alt. Welcome, Ricel.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Also, thank you. I feel so fortunate for being a part of a very great panel. So my name is Ricel. I am currently a sales coordinator at the Alt Hotel in Winnipeg. I graduated from RRC back in 2017. A little bit about me, I was an immigrant, so I moved to Canada when I was 17. I was actually already in university back home in the Philippines, and then I moved here and I had to go back to high school because I suppose it's a little different, the credits. I needed to get more credits so I could enroll into a college or university. And moving into Canada, it was very different for me because obviously the culture is different. So it was a little difficult to kind of integrate into the culture. So after I graduated high school, after all my credits, I stopped for a year and had to think about what I wanted to do, because it's I'm in Canada now. There's so much opportunities in front of me. It was a little bit of an overwhelming decision. But after a year, I decided I was going to enroll into the hospitality program at Red River. So I graduated in 2017 in hotel and restaurant management. And then the role that I have now, I was actually an intern here for, I want to say, a year. It was included a part of my program to have a working training. So, and then after that, the Alt was very happy with me, and then I got hired here. And now I'm a sales coordinator. So I was the front desk agent for a long time. Actually, in between me being hired here at the hotel, it felt like I was working here for 3 years already, and I felt like I needed a different environment. And so I switched, and then I moved to Alberta for about a year. Still working in the same industry, hospitality. I was working at a hotel. I was living in Lake Louise, and that was a really great opportunity for me. So that's kind of like one of my favorite parts of kind of like the industry and the job that I'm in is I can move places. The goal when I decided I wanted to take hospitality and tourism was to like travel. And that's kind of like what fueled me to start this like career path. And I did travel here and there and yeah. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm very, very new to to this career. Like I'm very young, so I am like learning a lot from like the speakers that were in front of me before. I hope to be like them one day, to be like, you know, good at managing, and like I'm still in like the learning stages and phases of this career. So if you have like any questions for me, then obviously I'm here to answer it.
Yeah, thanks. We've got a few questions. So as a sales coordinator, what exactly are you selling? Are you trying to book people into rooms or have events at the hotel, or what are you selling?
So basically my role as a sales coordinator is to assist like the sales team. So my sales managers will prospect and bring in the business, and then I process everything afterwards. So like they give me the ingredients and then I cook it, kind of like that. So when the contracts are signed, I now start to like finalize the events, their menu choices. I coordinate with the business and then our kitchen. Like I'm kind of like the middle person in between that. So yeah, assisting groups, assisting banquets, a little bit front desk. It was very different from my front desk experience, whereas like as a front desk agent, I was like directly involved with the people who check into the hotel. It was very like one-on-one. But as a sales coordinator, I'm more now like on the phone and like on the floor, kind of like assisting the sales managers.
Okay. What can your current role lead you to into the future?
There's actually so many ways. Like there's a lot of paths you can go into. I didn't think I was going to get into sales when I applied as a sales as a front desk agent for the hotel. I'm still very shy, like in real life, and I know salespeople are usually always outgoing and like persuasive and stuff like that. So you can definitely go into managing. You can go into like event planning. You can like focus on like banquets. Really just like selling hotels in like corporate. So like we do also like convince like businesses to have like an account with the hotel. So it will be like a preferred hotel whenever they travel for work, stuff like that. So there are very many paths you can go into.
Okay. How do you gain sales experience to get to the role you're in now? Like what would you suggest somebody do to get that experience in sales?
I think if you worked in like a customer service, you already have kind of like a sales experience. Mm-hmm. I used to work retail. That's kind of like a sales experience. As a front desk person, you're constantly like taking reservations over the phone. So like you convince them to like book the hotel with you. Some people do like call multiple hotels, you know, asking them what's the deal, what can you offer me? You know, that's kind of like a sales experience. When I got kind of promoted into this position, my regional director told me that this is kind of like the best seat if I want to go into sales further, because I can see like all the different departments, per se, like events, groups, and corporates. There's like a big market I can focus into. But the good thing is I can see them do it in front of me. And so I can like now absorb whatever it is that they focus on.
Okay, perfect. Where would you like to travel in the future or work, or both?
So many places right now. I've never been to Europe. I want to go to like Ireland, and the other one that is on my list. So it's Ireland, South Africa, and Japan are my top 3 at the moment.
There seems to be lots of hotels opening all the time in Winnipeg. What is that like for you? Is it just make more competition? Is it like lots of competition from your competitors?
It's definitely competition for sure, because obviously we want our business to grow. But it's also nice in the sense that the hospitality like industry is still growing, even in like a big small city like Winnipeg. And also, I think it's might be surprising that hotels actually do work together sometimes. Like if there's a very like a citywide event, like recently there was a big convention called the Western Retail Lumber Convention. And so there are many hotels in the downtown area who actually are a part of that convention. So like the people who travel to Winnipeg for this convention is like all at downtown. So we kind of like help each other get business, especially if it's like for all of Winnipeg.
Perfect. Okay, well, that's terrific. We're out of time. Thanks so much, Ricel, for
Much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for all of those great answers. Okay, everybody, that brings us to the end of our third World of Choices session. Thanks to our 6 fantastic speakers, and of course, our presenting sponsor, RBC Foundation and CNA for their support. I hope you all enjoyed listening to these business mentors and learned a lot today. Teachers, please remember to fill out those surveys, and as well, look for an email to come to you that we'd like you to just send a couple comments back for us. Thanks again to everybody, and have a good afternoon.